All right.
Good.
We're live. Yay. Hi, everybody. We are going to be discussing Rhythm of War spoilers. This is supposed to be roughly an hour long, but chances are we're going to talk for the rest of the day because we have so many things to talk about. I know everybody's probably really excited, but we do ask that you don't reveal any spoilers that have to do with other Cosmere books because not everybody who's read the Stormlight Archive has read all the other ones. So kind of, if you can, try to refrain as much as possible. But first question that we're going to be talking about, where does it rank among the four? Do we want to start? Jesse, we'll start with you and kind of go around.
Oh, sure.
Jesse, Michael, and then kind of up.
All right.
Okay.
So this is my favorite. This is my favorite Stormlight book. So it would go Rhythm of War, Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, Oathbringer for me. And we'll talk about why.
We will indeed talk about why. How about you, Michael?
For me, I think it's probably very similar. I think I would probably put The Way of Kings first, just because I always think the first book in a series kind of gets you in, and I love that book so much. But I really have a hard time picking books in a series. But otherwise, the order would be the same. I would say that it would be Rhythm of War, Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, Oathbringer.
And then Christy.
Rhythm of War would be my number one. I really loved this one. And then, yes, Words of Radiance would be the next one. I will always have a soft spot for that one because I was so addicted. I couldn't think anything but Words of Radiance when I was reading it. It was so immersive. And then Wave Kings and then Oathbringer.
Man, a lot of not very much Oathbringer love in this group.
I love Oathbringer.
Alex says cries in Words of Radiance. So I feel exactly as Michael does. It's kind of up there tied with Way of Kings for me. It's just so hard because Way of Kings is where everything begins. And I don't know. I feel like there's almost this shock of how well fleshed out the world is and becoming immersed in the world. And I do think that Rhythm of War kind of was reminiscent of Way of Kings in its focus because so much of it was so centered around the characters and their mental health, and it was kind of quieter. It was more of like a quiet book compared to Oathbringer, which was crazy explosive. And Words of Radiance, I think, probably has the best balance of being explosive and character-driven. You have all the characters together, which is nice, but I can't pick. I can't pick between Rhythm of War and Way of Kings. They're both up there. But I'm with everybody else. Oathbringer is at the bottom for me.
Oh, man. Not for me.
Oh, yeah. So I think Rhythm of War is also my favorite. It was my most emotional and kind of like really mind-blowing for the world-building reveals, which we will talk about. And then I'm a sucker for Words of Radiance, so I'm with Christy. Rhythm of War, Words of Radiance, The Way of Kings, and Oathbringer.
See, I still have Words of Radiance as my number one. Oathbringer was my number two, but Rhythm of War definitely usurped it. So Oathbringer's number three, and then I have The Way of Kings last. Sorry, Michael.
Wow.
But I also haven't read the rest of the Cosmere, so that could be why I have Rhythm of War second.
I think that Way of Kings for sure is very slow in a lot of ways. For like, even if you like the characters and you're gripped by that, and you find that intriguing. It is. I mean, it's hard to even say what the plot is of the first book. You're kind of just following this slave guy and then this other guy that's constantly like, I'm trying to be honorable and nobody cares. And then you have, and also I have visions. And then Adolin's like, oh, Dad, like, come on, you're getting old. And then you have Shallan often with Yasna, and Yasna's super vicious and mean and awesome. And then Shallan's like, I'm learning things. And so Way of Kings, I get why. Because there are parts of Way of Kings that I'm just like, ugh, snooze. But I still love it.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Leslie, but until you read Words of Radiance, you said The Way of Kings was your favorite book. It's not like you dislike it.
I love it. Just because it's ranked last doesn't mean it's not still a 5-star.
I really like Oathbringer more. Maybe more than most of the people here, because it is my least favorite, but I still loved it. So
yeah.
I think that's pretty common too. I don't. Way of Kings is definitely my least favorite. How dare you, books and stuff. I'm just kidding. Oathbringer, though, I think it's interesting because it kind of depends on what you like about the Stormlight Archive. And that's what I found seeing other people's feelings about Rhythm of War, because a bunch of us here loved it. But there are certain elements of it that people were not enjoying because they don't enjoy those things about the Stormlight Archive. To me, I don't think it did anything way drastically different than the rest of the Stormlight Archive series. It just focused in on different things. But it's kind of interesting. I mean, they're such big books that you're going to have some elements of them that you don't 100% love. So, but speaking of loving stuff, did you cry? If so, when? And all of us here, I think it's safe to say, like, we like when books make us super emotional.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes. Yes. Yes, I cried. There were a couple times I cried, but the one that really got me going first was Teft. Teft, his death hurt so bad.
I really have it open to that page.
Yeah.
It hurt so bad, and I like had to stop for a second and just like go do something else for a second and come back to it. And it's the repercussions it has for Kaladin as well just was so emotional. And the other piece that kind of ties into all of that scene is Kaladin's leap from the roof and finally saying the fourth ideal was the waterworks are going.
And I think
it was so good. Oh, that might be that moment with Kaladin jumping might be my favorite scene in all of Stormlight Archive, because I feel like it defines what this series is about. It's about these characters who struggle so much, not necessarily physically, but mentally, emotionally, and feel so at the bottom for so much of it. I mean, they're constantly at the bottom, having to fight their way back up. And I don't think it's a physical fight, right? It's totally a mental fight for so many of these characters. Right. And just that moment of triumph for Kaladin's character and overcoming that is like what Stormlight is for me. Like, well,
I'll read the part really quick. I don't know if this annoys people to read it because they're like, don't bring it up again. It's too sad. But the fact that it like brought it back to that moment in book 1 when he was going
exactly
right, and it says like he'd stood on this ledge before long ago in the rain. This time he jumped, and I was like, why is it? And like he kind of, it was interesting because it was both his almost like his lowest moment and the most triumphant.
Yes,
because in accepting this pain and accepting that he can't save everyone, he was able to say the fourth ideal. And also, the fourth ideal is awesome. Like, I expected it to be, like, shard played on him, but him putting it on that kid Aiden and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Last time, I think we talked about a couple of artists. Can those artists, I forget, like, Maglis something, the one who did the artwork, and then there's, like, so many. Can they do Kaladin in shard plate, please? Because
yes.
Yeah, I actually started crying the chapter before Teft died because I knew something was about to happen. And I started crying then, and I didn't stop because once Teft died, and then the unarmed humans and the singers were defending against the Radiants who were still in comas, then I'm crying because I'm inspired. Then Kaladin jumped. But for me, the most memorable, just tingly goosebump feeling I got was when his slave brand fell off.
I was about that scene.
The imagery of that, what that truly meant, like he had just finally loosened the chains that were just, oh man.
And him and Lyran forgiving each other.
Oh,
so good
now.
Yes.
Man, I was so mad at Lyran until he finally got right.
So I felt like the slave brand thing, I think a lot of people thought that would finally go away when he said the fourth ideal, but it was still so satisfying that
Oh,
I had no idea that was going to happen. I was like, what? That's
I
so
didn't either.
I was pretty sure, but still, when he like reached up and he's like shocked, I don't know, I was like, oh, our baby is finally free. Yeah, but Liren, oh my gosh, Liren made me so freaking mad.
So mad at him.
What was hard was because so when I did my spoiler chats for the book, I'd read all of the book and then I was going through each part. And obviously while I was reading, I was mad at Liren. But then when you find out Liren blamed himself for Tian's death, and you're like, well, now I feel kind of bad that I was so mad. So, like, you still shouldn't project onto Kaladin like that. But at the same time, like a father feeling so strongly that he's the reason his son is dead. And it's just, I don't know, I felt kind of bad. But I was like, I have to capture the feeling I had in that moment. Because I can't be like, yeah, Liren's being kind of annoying, but it changed, you know, I couldn't. Anyway.
Yeah. And
I was
all
raging.
Paladins and Tef dying stuff definitely made me cry. There's another thing I want to talk about that made me cry even more, but we haven't talked about the vision and how we saw Tien and Kaladin. That is what made me cry. Like,
That's where I started.
Like,
I was ugly crying at that point.
that was like, that's the second worst crying that I did in the book.
Like, I was crying so hard I had a headache after.
Oh my god! I was like bawling so much. It was crazy.
Tian's quote in that moment was so epic.
You're enough for me.
I gotta find it. Yeah, as we're talking, I'll find it.
Yeah,
And when Dalinar took control of the storm to like help Kaladin, I was like,
I'm not
I was still crying. I'm like, is it gonna work?
It says, I'm not strong enough. You're strong enough for me. I'm not good enough. You're strong enough for me. I wasn't there. You are here for me, Cal. You're here for all of us. Don't start crying,
Jesse.
Don't read any more of that.
So good. I'm crying so hard. Okay,
you guys are all crying now.
I'm about to. Yeah. Okay, I want to know if any of you guys were really upset about the thing that made me cry the most. Okay.
Okay.
The whole storyline and plot between Navani and Raboniel was a mess. I never thought I would cry so hard over a freaking fuse. Like, what the heck? I loved it. When she killed her daughter, and I was like so emotional about that. And then when like Navani tried to kill her, and then she didn't. She like wasn't successful, and then Raboniel was like trying to save her from Moash, and then like she had to kill her at the end, and oh my god, I was a wreck. I was a wreck.
It was
I want to talk so much about Raboniel in this chat because what a fantastic character. But I don't want to.
Yes.
We're still on this one.
Loved it.
But that is the storyline that made me cry the most. Like, yes, Kaladin very much made me cry, and especially his scene with Tien and everything like that made me really sad. But a close second to the whole Navani Raboniel storyline, which I would have never have guessed would make me so upset.
I know. And she's one of the most complex villains, and her relationship with Navani and the way that they kind of elevated each other so many times when she's like
each other.
Yeah, when she's like, I looked through your journals, why don't you call yourself a scholar? And telling her, like, if you're not a scholar, then I've never met one. And like so many great moments. But then, okay, this almost made me cry when she left a note on Raboniel's corpse just in case. Do not dispose of this hero's body without first consulting the queen. And I was like, she was a hero. She was. And it just, that got me. And I don't feel like there's enough love of their relationship. And because like I've always enjoyed the Taravangi and Dalinar stuff. But I say Raboniel. Did the audiobook say Raboniel?
I think so.
I think it did.
Okay. But Raboniel and Navani, like, they're
mutual
people,
respect.
Like, people ship couples. I don't ship them romantically, but like as a villain hero, like OTP.
Yeah. Their relationship was so complex, and like being a scientist myself, like I just love that they like geeked out about that stuff, and it broke my heart every time Raboniel was like, sorry, I lied to you. This is actually gonna help me.
I know that broke my heart, but their mutual respect for each other, and how they were on opposite sides but still working together. It was just
I know. And I told Jesse, I was like, I'm so glad that nobody made this sexual because the way it came out sounded sexual. But when I said in one of my chats, I said, can they just go off on a side quest and experiment together? And I was like, I'm glad nobody like joked that because it came out and I'm like, I'm gonna leave it because I truly meant like I want them to just go have a happy like vacation where they do science experiments. But she died, so but like the part with her daughter, and I was like, ugh. I don't know. She's a villain that you can get behind because you're like, I kind of get why you're doing it. And also, oh, go ahead, Michael.
Well, it's not even a personal thing. Like, even though she's trying to kill her at the end, she's like, I just want this to be done. Like, she doesn't. It's like she is like this monster. But it's more than that. It's like she's like, I'm so freaking tired of this. We need to end this somehow, and this is the way. And that's why, you know, at the end when she flips back to helping Navani, she's like, no, you need to end this your way then, because my way is not working right now. It's like, oh man.
I know.
The deal with the end when she saved Navani just proves my point. Nobody likes Moash. Nobody wants him to have a redemption arc. He belongs in damnation. Send him there, please.
Yeah, I
love that part. Train before destination, you bastard.
Still support. That was so awesome.
It's like, say it again.
Yeah, so, anybody who supports Moash still supports him after this because he just keeps getting worse and worse. Like, what the heck?
He was, and like when he's like, oh well, if Teth dying doesn't do this, then use his dad and kill his dad in front of him. And I'm just like, you suck. I want to justice for Moash. Get out of here. Just kidding. You can, but okay, I'm curious. So this person brings this up. Unpopular opinion, the trust that Navani placed on her frustrated me toward the end because she broke most of her promises. I did kind of like, though, that Navani did the same thing. Like, she also, and there's that line toward the end where she's like, you shouldn't be so trusting. She says that to Raboniel, and I was just like, I like that too. But I get what is being said here. Mm-hmm. I also just think that at some point she almost didn't have a choice because she could just go and be basically a servant. But I get being frustrated by that for sure.
Yeah, she never had a choice. It did frustrate me too, but it was also like, what else is she going to do? She doesn't have options here. So yeah, you probably shouldn't have just thought it was going to be hunky-dory. Like, clearly there's bad things going on. Like, she's still keeping all of the radiance for some reason. What's going on?
Okay,
but yeah.
No, when she shares their song, when she's like, I have something for you, and they sing for Navani, and she's like, you don't have to call me Heavenly One anymore. We're pals. I was just like, oh, I love them together so much. Anyway, back to our original point about
what else made you guys cry?
Okay, the Dabbit, everything with Dabbit. So I'll clarify that I didn't cry because books don't really make me cry, but all of these things almost made me cry. Dabbit, that. When Caledon got dismissed from duty, I was just like, like I had like a physical reaction to that, and
I was fine with that. I was like, oh, it's kind of sad, but it'll be good for him.
I know, but like the shock of it,
it was definitely shocking.
The other part from early in part 2 that started making me tear up a little bit was when Kaladin had the revelation that he wanted to help all of those who were mentally ill in Urethru. Yes. And that was going to be his new mission. That was going to give him purpose. And I was like, oh my God, what an awesome thing.
Yeah, right? And like that at the end of the book too.
Oh yes, it was so good. Like that one, that also like made me tear up.
Well, and I think there's even a reference later in the book about how these poor men had to pick up weapons again. Because when they're all fighting at the end, and even Kaladin's even thinking like, I know this is bad for me, but I have to do something.
Oh, and that one guy who was like saying that, I think Liren was talking to him. He was like one of Kaladin's patients, and he was like, I do it because Kaladin does it all the time. He's been lower than me, and he gets up every day and still fights, and that's why I still fight. And I was like, oh.
I think that guy's name is Norl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I get it mixed up because the one honors friend's name is Nodum, and I think this guy is Norol, and I'm like, dang it.
So I had a happy tear moment when Adolin was doing his whole trial thing, and Maya stood up and spoke for him. Oh, I love that. I love that part so much.
It's a good thing I have an arc because I literally just spilled my drink on it. But so I have some feelings about that. So I liked Maya, and I liked Maya speaking, and I like, not that I'm like trying to correct you. That's not at all what I mean. But I like how Adolin recognized, like, don't make this mistake. She spoke for herself and for like his friend. So like that wasn't meant to. I just mean like I like that Adolin recognized that, and I like her and Adolin. My only thing is that plot line for me, almost like. That plot line is so difficult, and I feel like Sanderson so often does such a good job developing what makes it feel like odds that you cannot conquer, right? Like, how is he possibly going to convince these people to come to their side after their history? And so it being like, actually, your history is wrong was really interesting, really fascinating. I can't wait to see what that, what we discover with that. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, oh man, but the stakes went a different direction then. Because if the solution was that the history is wrong, as opposed to like trying to see each other and understand each other's history, I think that would have been interesting too. So I don't want to say it was easy necessarily, but like almost it kind of just, I don't know how to explain my feelings towards it. I guess I was excited to see how Adolin was going to try to convince them,
Yeah. My theory is, since we saw at the end that race, the shard of odium was transferred to Taravangian, I think since the Spren were saying honor is not dead, it lives in the heart of men, I think Adolin is going to somehow figure out how to reform the shard of honor, and he is going to wear that mantle.
Wow!
Because he's the only one who's not a radiant, and it's like, why? Something better.
I have
Something
so
better.
many thoughts on Adolin.
Sweet with my man. Be sweet
I love
with
that
my
theory, Leslie. That's
So,
a good one.
Thank you, Henry. I think that is kind of my theory. I know you guys have seen me say it a billion times, and I know people are probably tired of it. Like the whole like Adolin being Odium's champion thing, right? So I even highlighted to make fun of myself in one of my chats. I was like, hey guys, this is for you. And I read a line that said Adolin was like, Odium's evil. I'll never serve him. And I was like, okay, so like there you go. But here's the thing. So it's that scene where Adolin goes to Caledon before they go to Shadesmar, and he gives him that coin, and he says, we'll have to duel sometime when I get back. And what I would love is if Adolin kind of tricked Taravangian, because he has motive, right? Like he motive, if you will, because he knows that Dalinar like killed his mom, and he has been like under everybody else's shadow in a sense. So I could see him tricking Taravangian into thinking he wants revenge against his father, he wants power, but actually like doing it so that he could purposefully lose. And then the other person being Kaladin, so like they have to duel, and then it kind of brings us back to that moment where they said they would duel sometime, and they've got the coin and stuff. Like it probably won't happen, but I really want it to, because I feel like that'd be so emotional if Adolin.
I mean, that's the foreshadowing that Brandon often puts in his books, so that would be brutal.
Wouldn't it? This person said he might turn Adolin into his champion just to pass a message.
Here's what I want with Adolin. I just want anything that's unpredictable.
Like the Zaddy murder.
Here's my problem. Every other character, when I read from their perspective, I truly don't know like what's going to happen. Like Shallan, especially in this book, I was like, is Shallan gonna like go evil? Like, are we gonna do this? I had such a hard time predicting her. And I mean, Kaladin, we weren't sure if he was in that much pain. Would he become Odium? Like, I was like, oh my God, like I'm like worried, like what's going to happen? With Adolin, it's always just kind of the same. It's kind of predictable.
Leslie has left the chat.
I mean,
character feet over
Jesse, I'm wearing you on my shirt.
We know you want to impress your dad. We know you're honor.
Leslie
something different with him. I don't know.
So I don't have to.
I just want something. That's why, like, if he had turned evil, that would have been sweet. Or just like anything.
Y'all
So,
tell
like,
me
make
when
them more
somebody give me a sign when she stops talking. I'm muted.
Leslie's prediction that he's going to ascend and be honor is pretty much the most unpredictable thing. Like, that's a wild theory that I love.
I'd be fine with that.
He's the only one that's truly been honorable. I mean, Sadia's
What
got
about David?
more.
David doesn't have a spin either.
My rock.
So I don't agree with that.
No,
But that's okay.
Ryle Mellinger in the chat. That was the only thing. Yes, that I want more. Like, because there were no consequences. It was just like, oh, you killed
Guys,
Yes.
I have to highlight something really quick, okay? And I know, and I feel like it's a good job of showing Sanderson's world, the light eyes versus the dark eyes, and the consequences and everything. When Kaladin challenges Amaram, he gets put in prison. And then Adolin straight up murders Sadius and then is annoyed when his dad is like scolding him about it. And I'm like, scolding versus put in prison. Those are the differences between challenging and murdering. Like, anyway, I just think it's kind of funny because I'm just like, yeah, like I like that we still see that. There's still the light eyes kind of getting away. Obviously, Kaladin, like the radiance that changes everything. But man, now I'm thinking about Words of Radiance again and how mad it made me that they put him in prison. That's so stupid.
This is a side tangent, Elle, but do you think that Shallan and Adolin make a better couple now that they're both murderers?
I'm not gonna lie. I wanted Shallan so bad to go kill the Herald because I was like, that would have been so juicy.
She already killed one person and didn't know it. Like, that's crazy.
Man. Like her, like the three personalities fighting each other and like Vale seizing control and like the others couldn't take over was just blowing my mind. I was so scared. I was so concerned. Like, what is happening? I'm going to have an ulcer. And then I'm trying to visualize it because I'm such a visual reader. And it's like when they're fighting with each other, it's like, stop hitting yourself, Vale. Stop hitting yourself, Vale. I'm like, that whole film was.
Oh, see, Will Palmer and I, we see each other.
I was so scared she was going to do that. I did not want her to do that, and I was so relieved when she didn't.
I somehow didn't want her to do it, but also kind of all the heralds are really bad. Like, maybe she shouldn't. Because they're messed up, man.
Shallan killed her mom, her dad, her best friend. Killing her father. That's right, Henry.
True.
I feel like so many of the choices the characters had to make in this book were so gray, and I did not know what I wanted them to do. So I was just along for the ride.
Yeah, I was just uneasy and just majorly concerned the entire time.
Especially after the last thing.
I agree with this. That was going to be the one other thing I said, not to harp on Adolin, because I don't hate him. I just want something more with him. He had a moment before he went to Shadesmar in this book with Dalinar, and he was so bitter and resented Dalinar, and I was like, yes. Like,
I resent Dalinar.
Like, I loved that moment, but then we never talked about it again. And I hope that that's not it. I hope that we get more.
I think
Same.
because Renarin kind of made a little remark about it too. So I think those two are still going to harbor some feelings regarding that, and it's going to come back up.
Renarin's was interesting to me because when we got in his head a little, it was like he told himself Odium took Evie from them because Odium with the thrill was kind of, that's how he came to terms with it. Was, oh, it wasn't really my dad, it was Odium. And then with Adolin's just like when you burned your wife to death, but he just thinks it and he doesn't. And like, that's a legit, I'm with Jesse. I want him to hash it out with his dad. Because I mentioned too, like the juxtaposition between Kaladin and Liren, where Liren's like all disappointed and you're a monster. And he's like, I swore my oaths too. And then he's like, mic drop, I'm out. And then Adolin's just like, and like upset. And then he doesn't really get it out. And I want him to get it out, you know? I
I think it's coming. I think it's building.
Yeah, I think it was
It took
the way
4 books for us to see
Yeah.
Kaladin and Lirin work it out, so
Right.
it may just take some
That's
time.
well, they set it up so well with Adolin going on his own mission and proving himself, and now I don't know, like having a little bit of weight or whatever. He's accomplished something, so he can go back to Dad and be like, "Look what I did, Dad! I did it!" And yeah, I think they've set it up well. They're going to have to adjust it. I'm rooting for the best for them, but yeah, they need to have words. I hope they agree to be honorable in their own ways separately.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want Dalinar off the hook that easy for it. I'm still upset with what happened, what we found out with his flashbacks in Oathbringer. I never got over it in Rhythm of War. I'm still mad at the guy.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Do y'all remember when Dalinar was talking to Aelin, Taravangian was mentioned a lot, and then in the end of the book, Taravangian became Odium? Yeah, for sure, because Dalinar is basically saying, well, there's my way, and then there's the Taravangian way, and Aelin's like, there's other ways. It's not just you or Taravangian. So yeah, I think that's interesting to tie that in. This person says, I feel like the Colon men are really keeping their issues on the inside. I hope we get a proper. I do too.
I agree.
I mean, probably not just the men. Yasna seems to bottle up her issues as well.
Oh man, her and Wit. I never saw that coming. I didn't know I needed that in my life, but I was absolutely eating it up.
There's so much good wit in this book. So much good wit.
And Wit's spread.
I like how everybody has just accepted that Wit totally knows more. Like, he was literally the person that would mock people on behalf of Elhokar in the beginning, and now it's like, well, whatever Wit's doing, who knows with that guy? Like, Dalinar is like, I don't know. Like, but it's accepted that Wit knows stuff. And even, you're right, because even the women, even Navani's like, I couldn't even talk to my own daughter about her potential romance with Wit. Like, they can't talk about it.
Maybe it's an Alethi thing.
I think that's fair.
We're a royalty thing. I mean, they're all royal family.
Yeah, and
That's true.
speaking of Wit, the scene where he entered into Kaladin's dream and had him in the bubble and told him
So
the
good.
story.
It's so good.
That's my favorite story that Wit has told so far. It's the one that made the most sense to me.
Somebody quoted this earlier, and I love this quote too. If I can find it, the one about you will be warm again.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, you will.
I loved that.
I loved it. And also, I like Wit likes dogs. Okay, so whatever he does in the
absolutely.
world, great.
100%.
And dragons.
Also, Wit's friend is so funny. Oh my goodness.
I was like so surprised that he bonded a Spren. Like when he
Yeah.
said at the end of the last book, that's not what I thought he intended for it. And it
Right.
was really cool.
Wit's just going around getting like the powers from I feel like everywhere.
Yeah.
I know, right? I loved when he's having the exchange with his friend before telling the story, and this friend like gives away the ending. And he's like, you are a monster.
A
It's
literal
meta,
monster.
It's like a meta that I was okay with, though.
I love it.
So great.
Because like if Brandon was like writing in a way to say, like, hey, don't spoil things for people in real life.
I love that.
Oh, and I like that Wit, because we've seen this conversation before where Wit's like, it's up to you to decide what the story means, not for me.
I
And
love that.
I love that too. I also agree that it's not the author's job to tell you the point of a story, because it takes away from your feelings,
Yeah.
Okay.
Will's comment.
Oh wait, hold on. I didn't
Do you have any more crying moments to talk about?
I don't think so.
Taravangian made me cry.
Okay, Taravangian being
Old
old
Taravangian.
and crying and like sad and emotional and wanting comfort and companionship, and I was just like, oh, because he's basically different people each day, and so when he's his dumb self, I feel bad for him.
Exactly. Whenever old people are upset, I'm upset too. Yeah.
Aw.
What do you guys think? Okay, that epilogue.
I mean, I think
Kind of blew my mind.
I think it's the first time that we've seen Wit lose an encounter.
Yes.
Because I do think that's what happened.
Yeah,
And
I
that
definitely-
freaking scares me more than anything else,
Yes.
maybe. What happens in
Yes,
the book.
yeah. I was
Very alarmed.
he has that kind of power.
That changed everything.
Yes, I was talking about to Elle about this, how I love Wit as a character because I love characters who are always, they seem like they're always a step ahead of everybody else or of the reader. And even though Wit doesn't play a huge role with like strategizing or like taking action on the plans in this particular series, he always just seems to know exactly where to be and who to guide when. And the fact that we might be losing Wit, I'm like, what is going to happen to this universe? Because it's not just Stormlight, it's like the whole universe.
The fact that Evangeline has that kind of power really scares me.
There's
and then I didn't realize there were 16 of like all of them. I just thought we had these 3, and Cultivation was like, yeah, something about the other, there's 16. I'm like, wait, what? 16? And other minutes and systems, I'm like, are we about to start getting out of Roshar in the future?
That's why we got to read the other Cosmere, Leslie.
Yeah, find out more. You have plenty of time before book 5 to catch up.
Oh,
I knew there was more than the
January.
No, there were
January starts the journey, guys.
I want to highlight, because I agree with this, Eshni's final flashback was so emotional. It's so, and I want to add too, because I've seen like nobody talk about this. So even if you didn't like the Parshendi backstory, it kept highlighting Jaxlim's inability to remember and how she's forgetting things, which is super sad. And then in the last part with Venli, where she's reunited with her mother, she thought all the other ones were dead. She sees her mom again, and her mom recognizes her. And I was like, that made all those stupid flashbacks worth it. Not that they were literally dumb.
I love that part.
So that, and then the Eshni part. Oh,
so
good.
Okay, I was having trouble kind of like interpreting the Eshni part because this last flashback. So initially, which I think I was wrong about, I thought that she was turning into a Spren, and then somehow she got into the body of that big chasm fiend that is like with the other Lost or whatever. And I was like, oh, so that's Eshni. But then after like thinking about it some more, I'm like, no, I think I'm reaching there because it didn't end that way. That's where I thought it was going. So was that just like a chapter? Because the chapter before that ends with the Stormfather saying that he has been merciful before. So was that just like him showing how he's been merciful, or like what was that?
Yeah,
I think so.
She loved to travel and she wanted to see all of these places. And so he took her to see all of those, like all of Roshar and all that.
He's like dead.
I think
you're not alone though, Jade. Somebody else thought that too. I saw somebody. I'm pretty sure she is dead because it said pretty clearly like she was excited basically to go to the spiritual realm and see what that was like. So I think,
the end of that chapter, but I was like confused because I thought we were about to find out she's like still alive and is a Spren and is like doing stuff. So, okay.
Yeah. Well, and kind of feeding off that, Jade, I was wondering if, there's 9 fused or supposedly 9 fused or 9 unmade. I wondered if, since 10 is such an important number throughout the rest of the book, if maybe there was 10, they just didn't count the 10th, which is maybe the Radiant version of fused. And that if Eshni became a Radiant when she died, maybe they get reborn too or something. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know why there's 9 of the bad things and 10 of the good things.
I mean, the like quote unquote easy interpretation, I think, is like to compare it to like in Christianity, the number 7 tends to be good and the number 6 tends to be bad. I think that that's what it was going for.
Okay.
Interesting.
So any other tearjerker scenes? I mean, there's so many. Syl is like also experiencing what it is to be sad.
And like,
and asking too.
Flash, before he kills Teft and Teft's Radiant Spren, before that, I was so I film these like book diaries as I'm reading, and I like predicted to the camera. I was like, oh my god, because he had just been told how to kill Spren. Moash had, and I was like, oh my god. Everyone says the ending is devastating. I thought he was gonna kill Syl. I was like, Syl's gonna die. This is why everybody's so upset about the ending, and I'm really glad that's not what happened. I was very upset when Teft's Radiant Spren was murdered, but I really thought that that's where the book was gonna go.
I was really like, I am terrified moving forward with the knowledge that Spren can now permanently die.
That's so scary.
I'm so scared.
I think because it's been like 40 minutes of us talking about sad scenes.
We have like 5, right?
So to everybody in the chat, everybody here, who had the best plotline in your opinion? And by best plotline, we're going to group it up into the 3 duos. So we have Kaladin, Navani, Shallan, Adolin, and then Yasna, Dalinar. Even though some got less time than others, I mean, I feel like I loved the Caledon and Navani stuff a lot.
That's definitely
Yeah.
my favorite.
Yeah, that's the favorite.
Is that all of our favorites?
Are we
really
unanimous?
like the Shallan stuff, but I like the Kaladin stuff better.
You like the Kaladin stuff more than the Navani, you said?
No, I like the Caledon Navani plotline better than the Shadesmar stuff, but I also still really like the Shadesmar stuff. I could care less about the Dalinar and Yasna stuff.
At least the Dalinar Yasna stuff, it was like, there was always something interesting. When we would hop over to them, it was always like,
Interesting.
what? You didn't like, oh, Yasna and Wit and a thing. Or,
Until
oh,
the very end. Well, okay, Yasna and Wit, I was like, ooh, but that was at the end. And then when they found the Spren bodies in the like mortal realm, then I was like, what?
so weird.
But other than that, it was boring.
That part was so creepy. But, well, I liked Yasna, like, being awesome on the battlefield. Oh, look, literally, like, as I'm saying that. Yasna on the battlefield. Yasna with the, like, stabbing the guy in the throat, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked that. I was like, oh, this chapter is going to be boring. And then they would do something awesome. So I feel like there's always something.
Even like Dalinar riding on the Stormfather. Like, that was so cool and that's how he found out what was really happening in Eritrea at the very end of part 3. I loved that. Like, I personally loved every Dalinar Yasna moment that we got, even though they weren't as present. I really liked them.
It was just kind of weird to know that they're in this like big war and like not really get. I mean, we got a few war scenes, but usually when you have a war going on in a book, it's like central, and instead it was kind of like off to the side. And it was
Yeah.
Which I
was
liked.
more interested in the Mink part of their storyline than anything else. I thought he was great.
I think that after Oathbringer, was okay with less heavy battle focus.
Yeah.
And kind of having, because I don't know if anybody here has watched this, but Daredevil, the Netflix show.
Yes, I love it. It's my favorite.
That form of tension of the like sneaking around and then fighting and then sneaking around and then fighting. I like that a lot. And big battles are cool, but it's so much more personal when it's kind of closed in like Kaladin's was, which I think it's funny because Jesse found part 3 kind of a little boring, but I was like, oh, like Kaladin sneaking around the fused and the pursuer. Okay, when he rips his head off with the thing at the end.
Oh my gosh,
That was so cool.
And like I love that he kept calling him Defeated One, like while he was, and I love the like mind F that he gave that guy. And then he's called Defeated One and killed at the end. Like by
that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That went on a side tangent though. But okay, so a lot of us here would say the Caledon Navani plotline was our favorites.
Yeah.
So what about them did you all like the most? I think for me, Navani with Raboniel, we talked about that already. I loved all of that. I loved everything with Kaladin, the mental health, his having to fight through everything, even knowing everything with his father, all of his triumphant moments, all of his low moments, his moments with Syl. I felt like all of it was just basically perfect. So that's why I liked them the most.
Yeah, it was really good. So when Navani, when Kaladin is going to the atrium to get the node that's in the well, and Navani has a moment where she says like, oh my God, Kaladin's in trouble, this is a mistake. In my mind, I was like, oh, obviously he's going into a trap. Like that's what I thought she was talking about. And then when we find out that she realized basically that she'd been spied on this whole time, that blew my mind. I was like, what? No.
As long as they get around.
I was so stressed and I was holding my breath. Well,
yes.
Oh my gosh.
Were you holding a breath you didn't know you were holding? That whole scene, I was just like, I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like the underwater stuff
Yeah.
Just-
Oh man.
And imagining like
That
being
was
in a
rough.
well with the lid being
I
shut.
know.
Yeah.
I felt like,
Like
it
I
was
felt true terror because that would be awful. And I just
Horrifying.
knew he was gonna die. I just knew he was gonna die.
And it was amplified for him because Syl was afraid too. So it was just
Yeah.
it was terror on
Like,
terror.
them being separated.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It
And
was
And
I
when they
feel like
when they figured out how to kill Spren, I was so scared Moash was going to kill Syl.
me
Me
too.
too.
Terrified.
It could still happen.
Stop
I look forward to
Thanks, Michael.
Don't jinx it.
Don't even bring it up. No, I mean, so I personally felt that we know that Syl is like one of the ancient honor spren, but I felt like they kept making references. I feel like she's more significant than we know because we don't really see any others like her. And even
I think
the
she's the only one still alive. Didn't the rest of them die?
yeah, so but we get a part with the I think it is Raboniel or Leshwi. One of the two of them says something like, well, there's the what do they call her? Something daughter, honored daughter or something
Ancient
like that.
daughter.
Honor's daughter.
Daughter. Yeah.
Ancient daughter. Yeah, so they're like, well, there's her, but we don't need to talk about that. Like they keep referencing, and I'm like, I feel like we keep hitting that something special with her and her ability to show like the different hues. She showed up full sized again. There's another moment where she showed up full size and every time I'm just like, okay. And I saw, there's that really bizarre theory that like Kaladin and Syl are gonna be a couple.
Yeah.
Saw people jokingly saying their main takeaway out of that creepy scene with the dead Spren is that maybe a Kaladin and Syl ship could happen.
I mean, maybe she's going to be the one that actually ends up the Shard of Honor reforming and making her physical and having the mantle. Who knows? I'd be okay with that.
Maybe.
I
Instead of
just feel like
Adeline.
there's more with Syl than just her being like the last one. I don't know. I feel like that's got to be special beyond just like especially because they keep hinting at it. But maybe I'm crazy. I don't know.
my evil prediction is that somebody would bring her into the physical realm and she would get to kiss Kaladin as she died.
Thanks, Michael.
A tragic romance. Are you Shakespeare? What is this, Michael?
The other thing with like Kaladin and Vani, Kaladin obviously had a spectacular arc growth, just everything that happened. But Navani truly, like her interactions with Raboniel throughout the whole book, I was telling Elle this earlier. I feel like with Stormlight Archive in general, something we've kind of been missing is like a really, really intriguing villain. And I mean, we have Odium, right? But he's kind of just like evil, and he's evil for evil's sake. But Raboniel finally kind of gave me that like really like morally gray villain that I've been looking for in Stormlight. I love those types of villains where you're like, I see their point. Like I actually
Yes.
like can sympathize, and like I totally see that, and like I'm kind of like also like rooting for them, but I know I like shouldn't. I love villains like that. And the fact that we finally got one in this book is another reason it just totally blew me away. Like that's another reason that this is one of my new favorite Stormlight books for sure.
How did you
I'm
feel about
actually-
Caravangian?
Yeah, I loved her character. She was fantastic. Yes,
I just absolutely respected her. And I mean, I kept forgetting she was a villain because she was seeking an end to the war. I don't feel that she was working with Odium so much as she was tired. She was tired of everyone just getting mentally splintered and going insane because they just kept coming back, 7,000 years. And I respected that. I thought she was fantastic. And I loved that they were working together. And then she would just trip me up and do something just spiteful to Navani. And I'm like, well, crap. Oh, yeah, I'm not supposed to like her.
Me too.
But I
Okay,
still
this
didn't
theory
want her
is
to die.
interesting.
I love that theory.
That's what Leslie was just saying, I think.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I love that theory. Yeah.
Ooh.
So somebody else was mentioning, and I've seen this quite a bit, that Dalinar will be honor. Taravangian became Odium, and then I've seen that some people think Lift will become Cultivation.
But Cultivation's still alive.
I like,
but like
Yeah.
the same way that
Okay.
Taravangian became Odium. Like that's where we're gonna go with the 3.
I like Lift. I don't know if that's the role for her.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Lift?
It's not mature enough.
I sort
mean,
of
maybe we'll
anticipate
Maybe we'll
Lift-
see tons of growth in the next arcs.
potentially. I see her as being like a main character in the second half. That's why I think Lift is being.
I
set
hope
up as.
so.
I think she is. I think he said that.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think.
I thought it was fun that Wendell is sort of warming up to Lift a little bit, because when we first meet them, they're not getting along at all. But now he's
It
like,
It took her a
"Whoa."
little bit to call him a Voidbringer.
Sophia is asking if it's unpopular to say it. They don't like. No, I think it's fair, especially because her and Dalinar are both like bondsmiths now,
That's,
right?
we
So-
need the JC Beyonce power couple in Stormlight.
Right. I mean, she's going to be the one that's probably going to learn how to use the powers and teach him.
Well, absolutely. She's clearly doing that already. She's gonna like, hey, you dummy, here's how this works. And then she's gonna invent like, well, she already invented Stormlight nukes.
Right?
Yeah, I just loved her moment when she finally did bond the sibling and turn around to Moash, and it's just like, Bernie.
Oh yeah,
I was so
censored-
mad that she didn't kill him, though.
I know, I wanted her to
Watch. Because when she said "Journey before destination, you bastard," I'm like, "Oh, he's dead," and then he's not. I'm like, "Well,
He's blinded." Which all the theories that because I always felt like the idea of him being Odium's champion was like too easy. You know, it seemed like too obvious. And now is he permanently blind? But it's in 10 days.
Okay, so
although
yeah."
the way I see it is that it may be like one of those anime things where he's like a blind fighter with a blindfold who can still fight because of some supernatural powers because it's cool.
speaking of Daredevil,
I mean, I don't know
Yeah,
if
speaking of Daredevil.
Odium's champion.
I think the coolest thing about like I sometimes like when authors are a little bit like jerks to some of their audience, and I like that all of the people, because Sanderson has seen what everyone's saying for the last 3 years since Oathbringer, and all of the people are like, oh, Moash is going to get a redemption arc, oh, Moash is doing this, and the first thing he does in this book is he walks up to like a depressed person and says, you should probably kill yourself. It's like, oh wow, I guess there's no nuance with him anymore. I guess he's a bad guy.
no
huh?
redemption.
Well, speaking of like cool scenes, Caledon and Vasher. What did y'all think about that scene?
yes.
Are we allowed to talk about it?
no,
Oh, well, not in detail.
not in detail, unfortunately, because we don't want to go into other Cosmere things. But yes, that scene is
I
awesome.
loved it.
Where was Vasher? The entire occupation of the tower.
I was wondering the same thing.
Is he just like, I don't like fighting now, and then just like kid?
Yeah, I was thinking the exact
He is
same
an ardent now, so
He's getting in place.
Uh,
He's getting in place.
oh, I like that he
Oh.
became Odium.
me too. It's
I
kind of
think-
I do too. It just changes everything.
Speaking of great characters, Odium was the example of like he's just kind of evil. Like he says he's not, but he really is just kind of evil. But now that Taravangian is Odium, it's way sketchier, and also he's way scarier.
Yes,
yeah.
terrified.
Well, Cultivation says that thing about like I thought that you could be like handle Odium with more honor. So I was like, okay, so he's gonna like make Odium good. But then it doesn't sound like he's making Odium good. He's
Yeah,
That
Taravangian's
seems-
always had a sketchy version of good because it even says that he's gonna save everyone. That's at the end of one of these parts,
huh?
and right here. And now Taravangian was gonna save them all, and I'm like, yeah, but what's his version of save them all though? Like,
That conversation just made me have like more sketchy questions about cultivation because I'm like, okay, if you're cool with this, then maybe that's not good.
Well,
I thought cultivation. I saw cultivation as being like a good guy or whatever.
Me too.
I
Yeah,
think she was
Cultivation-
kind of in the middle. I think she was looking for balance.
Because
And
he-
got more than she bargained for. She's
Also-
gonna have to go get on her knees begging for help in the next one. Watch.
Peter from my Discord has now started referring to him as Todium, which I think is a good name.
Totally, I like that. I think cultivation is sketchy.
Oh yeah, I didn't think so before. I definitely think so now.
Also, we haven't touched on R'laine and Renarin and the like Son of Thorns and the corrupted Spren stuff. We haven't talked about that yet.
You were mentioning earlier, like the idea that, or somebody was mentioning that the idea that they would all take those shards. Clearly, cultivation had some plan in mind for those 3 people specifically, which is so weird to me.
Yeah. So I feel like we've been jumping around a lot, but what predictions do we now have? What predictions do all of you have now?
I don't.
I think
It's going to be like, do we think the next book is going to take place over 10 days and be the battle?
Yes.
Or like the battle?
I desperately want this book to be 10 days of pure insanity.
it will be 10 days of insanity, and Odium is going to be, or Taravangian will be banished for 1,000 years, and then the next 5 books are going to be after 1,000 years, and the descendants of all of these guys are going to be up against him. That's my theory.
I
They
think
just straight up fail. They just
well, I don't think you can. I don't think you can tease Dalinar being Odium's pet and not do it because it's so interesting as a prospect.
That is true.
You can't like be like, oh, we've just raised the stakes and made this way more interesting scenario, but it's not going to happen. I don't think you could do that.
I mean, that's kind of what happened with Shallan not killing the Herald, right?
Kind of. I just feel like
that would be really mind blowing, and I don't want that to happen.
Does that mean that Dalinar is going to be on the evil hierarchy for the book 2 then, right? Even if he's not evil, but he has to work for Odium, like are the people in book 2 gonna have to take out Dalinar? Because that's crazy.
Well, so remember the whole scene where I forget his name, but the Herald that was trying to take the bond between Stormfather and Dalinar away?
That was crazy.
So I wonder if he does have to serve Odium, would Navani be able to remove the Stormfather's bond to keep him from getting pulled over?
If she learned how, probably.
I mean,
They all have that power, I think.
the thing is, this book had so much emphasis on world hopping
Sure.
that, like, how is that not going to play an even bigger role? Like, the Ghost
It has
Bloods
to.
whole storyline,
Yeah, that they're not of Roshar. Like, what?
that has to play in. And it would make sense that if Dalinar was Odium's pet and had to world hop, that's kind of tying in this other world hopping stuff that Sanderson's really trying to pull in here.
Dalinar's going to be the new Zeth, but for the world hopping kind.
I mean, Dawn Shard sort of implies that all of that stuff is coming as well. Like it's all about like the greater powers than the ones that we're aware of.
And Sanderson has said he's taking a break and he's going to work on other stuff before he continues with the second arc of this. And part of me is like, you mean like the rest of the Cosmere and then write that? Because I don't see how. I agree. I mean, we've got to start seeing these things come into play a lot more. And I don't know. I kind of feel like so few people are pointing out that Sanderson has said it's going to be like 10 to 15 years after the first arc. So we're going to see like the children of like we're probably going to see Gavinor in there. We're going to see Lift. She's going to be older.
What's Kaladin's brother's name?
His what is his
I keep calling him TM2.
Yeah,
Oridin or something like that.
Oridin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
It'll probably have that kid, Aiden.
Yeah.
This book that has that
cool.
like little
That'd be
moment.
awesome.
And Gavinor.
Yeah, Gavinor. Okay, I gotta say,
Junior Radiance.
When Zeth was around Gavinor, and I'm like, I didn't legit think that Zeth was gonna murder Gavinor, but also I was like, you might want to get that kid away from Zeth because Zeth's just like looking at the kid. I can't wait for Zeth's backstory.
and
I
back to Shinovar. That's gonna
At
be
the
cool.
end of Oathbringer, I feel like it was a little bit of like a sentiment. It was like, oh, Zeth is a good guy now. I'm glad they brought the sketch back to that character.
Yes.
He's not okay.
He's probably the most intriguing character. It's because it's hard to make a character with so little screen time be so fascinating. But we hardly see him. Every time we do, I'm like, what the heck? Like I'm with I'm with everybody who is also saying that they want more.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue and say that Zeth is Scar from the Full Metal Alchemist story.
He is. I said that too. He's legit the same character. I love it so much. That's
But
only makes sense for Full Metal fans.
Yeah. It's true.
So other predictions that we have for I kind of think so obviously Taravangian is going to find a sneaky way. Like I joked earlier that maybe the duel will just be like indefinite and he'll find a way for the consequences to never play out. But also that would just because he's not the one that made the deal with Dalinar, right? So obviously the previous Odium was like ready. But I feel like Taravangian just became Odium. So he's like,
Yeah,
all
my
day.
first thought was like, does he even have to stick to it? Because he's not the same person. But I guess he's going to. So
yeah, it said like he can't get out of it necessarily. But I feel like, but then there's that hint where he's like, but there was this one part, and I'm like, which part? I want to know which part.
Wasn't the whole? Maybe I'm crazy. Wasn't there some implication that that I think it's when Taravangian talks to Odium that somehow the diagram came from Odium. In which case, now that he is Odium, he would have access to the full diagram all the time, right?
Yeah, well, see, I think what it was is whenever he would get pulled into the vision where he would talk to Odium and he would kind of trick him into showing him his plans like he did, and that's where he got the diagram from.
And that's how he knew that Renarin was the blind spot.
But I don't understand because Taravangian wanted to kill Odium. And like now that he is Odium, why is he still evil? I just want him to be good.
Because I think he got all. Remember, every time he had the really intelligent days,
he's only good when he's stupid.
I mean, like he was going to kill the kids that were singing outside, and like I'm done with them, kill them all. Like when he was super intelligent,
like I was
no
really
emotion, no compassion.
I was excited when he killed Odium. I was like, sweet, no more bad guy. Wait, what?
No, I knew he was going to be awful.
But doesn't cultivation tell him that was part of the point was to make him experience this being stupid and overly compassionate and then also really harsh but intelligent? Like she had him experience the extremes so that he would be more balanced when he took up Odium's power.
Yeah, I think
that didn't work.
I like this. He's the worst savior combo.
Yeah.
So
people say that about Kaladin, but Taravangian's willing to go to weirder lengths.
Places. I like how if anybody took the personality test and there's that one question, the radiant personality test, and there's the one question that's like, do you feel like the ends justify the means? Or like I'm like, are you Odium or are you Dalinar and everyone else?
Are you Taravangian on a good day or a bad day?
Sophia is wondering how long until book 5. So we know he's got to finish up Mistborn's second era, right? He's got to do Skyward 3, maybe even Skyward 4.
I think Skyward 3 and 4 are technically both on the schedule first.
Yeah. Well, he's probably like halfway done with 3, I think.
Yeah.
And then, so, I mean, at least 3 years, right?
I think 3 years have been what he's said between Stormlight books, yeah.
So the other thing that kind of got brought up at the end that really throws a wrinkle into things is Ishar being crazy. And
he was like sane for like 10 seconds and then mid-sentence he like goes crazy again.
He is both crazy and also he and Nail or Nale, however you pronounce it, prove that they're like so much better at fighting with shard blades than any other person on Roshar. Like that moment and the moment that Wit gets scammed, you realize that none of the most powerful characters, like we've talked about this before, like who's the most powerful characters that we have in the story. It's none of our main characters because the heralds, even though they're insane, can fight better than them. Somebody can steal Wit's memories or his knowledge. Like these people are screwed if something doesn't change.
Yes, so I don't know what's going to happen with Ishar, but Ishar seems to think that he wants to be Adonalsium and be the god of all gods.
Like he could end up being Odium's champion for all we know, and that'd be bad news.
Yeah, I think that could make sense.
I mean, even that scene where Zeth,
he would probably want to get Talonat because didn't Ishar say Talonat was the best out of all of them?
Yeah, but he's also maybe the furthest gone.
So
Yeah.
There's that scene though where Zeth like is getting ready to take out Nightblood and then kind of hesitates and then just gets smacked around.
Yeah.
And then it's like the fact that he got smacked around so quickly. And Downer even thinks, okay, if this is their level of fighting, then why do they always stay back? So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel
I think something's got to happen with the heralds. And we're coming to a point now.
Friend, like,
well,
that was just like totally out of left field, and like, what does this mean?
well,
See-
I think we got
Right.
the clue because when Ishar said, "I need a radiant to speak an ideal near me," that will help me have clarity. I think if Dalinar remembers that, he's probably going to try it on like Ash and Town and see if that helps them regain who they were.
what
Yeah.
pressure?
I saw that as him being a bondsmith, but I wonder if that's not the case.
Oh my god, and how Ishar was so able, like easily able
yeah.
to take his bond
Yeah,
in like
he was like,
1 second.
yeah, he was like super silent. Like, let me just show you that these powers are way better than you think they are.
Oh my god! I was like, oh my god, is Dalinar about to like lose his Stormfather?
Yeah, is the Stormfather about to go away? Because that'd be insane.
I think that there are I feel like a lot of this book is kind of tying in some of the things we've seen in other magic systems where you do have the ability to just straight up like snatch someone's powers away or make them run out and stuff. So yeah, that part I was just like, this feels very reminiscent of some things. But even like that being how they took that part with the tower, obviously, but then at the beginning, just doing it just to Kaladin where all of his... Can you imagine if that's like, what if that's it? Like there's some big duel, we have our contest of champions, they just zap the person's power completely. And then,
You know who'd be good at fighting without powers? Adolin.
I was
That's
knew
right.
you were gonna say
That's
that.
right.
I mean, we now have introduced.
Y'all will be liking him then.
We've now introduced that there is a way to not only kill Spren permanently, but also take someone's bond away and leave them bondless. And we've also discovered there's opposites to all the lights that destroys light. Like everything changed in this book. So
We
it's
just need we need Dalinar and Navani to constantly be there so that if somebody's bond is taken, the other one can like immediately
That'd be a cool scene in a movie.
They're probably going to make them separate. They're going to realize they can't be together because if they both get knocked out, then they can't help the rest. So now we're going to have this separation that we're going to have to deal with.
That's like the lovers who can't. They're like they have to stay apart from each other. It's all tragic.
They had a year of a honeymoon and now it's over.
oh my god, Will. I have so many thoughts on Nightblood. What is going to happen with Nightblood? Like, where's he going to go? Is he going to truly stay with Zeth? Because I think it would be kind of fun if Nightblood got kind of passed around.
No, I like him with Zeth.
Yeah. They're
I don't
great.
know. I have no idea. Nightblood is another total wrinkle that there's something odd with Nightblood, and I think he might have a I don't can I say this?
You can say Dawn Shard stuff. He's
Okay.
normally.
Okay. I think he might be a Dawn Shard.
Oh, that's definitely possible. But I can't say what I want to say. It's all Warburton. Dang it.
Okay,
I
that's
feel like
totally in left field, but it is driving me crazy. Who are these people with chickens? Are they the ghost people or like
I love
we'll
the
never
chickens.
back to where
Okay,
did
like,
they come from?
Luke's like, this is my red chicken. We're totally bros now.
I don't know if they are chickens or if that's just what they call other birds.
But like there was the guy with the green chicken that like captured Lift, and then there was the red chicken that went to the dead body, and then Lift was like, "This is my red chicken." What are these chickens? And
Somebody was explaining to me that was supposed to show that they were like ghost blood people, and that the ghost blood people
That's
were
what I was-
operating there.
That was
But
Maria's.
it is crazy.
So there's also a woman, Exenduit, that shows up in the flashbacks.
Mhm.
yes, who is she?
So she's We can't talk Cosmere
Yep,
stuff. I
there's
don't
other
know.
Cosmere stuff.
Oh,
I
well,
can't
there's
talk
a
about
clue.
her as a person, but like her powers, they reference her wearing a lot of rings, and then
Okay, okay.
and
Sorry.
then I was a little bummed though because it makes reference to there being another person that she knew like her, another specialist, and that person, you know, some people were telling me, oh, that person is, oh, here you go, the birds are that. Well, all of us need to read up then. So, and then the other person, when Lift finds the person with the chicken and they're dead, but it said like they clearly had been wearing rings or something. And so everybody was saying that was the person they were referencing. And I'm like, why are they dead already though? Like I need to know more about these people.
Yeah. I totally thought that accent with Lady was a ghost blood just because she seemed to know stuff that other people don't.
I mean, it seems plausible.
I'm just curious if Sanderson's going to start saying, like, okay, I need you all to read Mistborn and Warbreaker and it's just the blah, 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 and every other book
I think
before you read any more Stormlight. Because I
think
feel
you
like
have
we're at
to.
that point now.
It's either that point or maybe he'll try to make the hard line at book 6 or something.
That's what I was thinking for the second arc.
But it's getting really, really close, I feel like.
It's getting ridiculous at this point.
I'm sorry, Leslie, that probably makes you want to read more. I don't know.
The amount of characters and things, and just you just gotta go read it.
Yeah, okay, so this is what I was getting at. The red chicken belonged to the servant dude that talks to Navani in the prologue.
I have to revisit the prologue.
I feel like
That's
we
what I was
need
thinking.
a hardcore analysis of every Gavilar scene, like everything about the day that Gavilar was killed.
I love that that's what they're doing. It's so
Yes,
cool
it's
to see that same event
fantastic.
from all the different angles, and you find out new weird stuff every time. Because the first book, you are so confused, and then somehow you get more confused with every book. Because like book 2, it's like, oh yeah, Yasmin was trying to kill Olikar's wife. You're like, what? Why? What's going on? And then you find out that she was with Navani that night. And then all of this other stuff was happening. There was at least 3 heralds there. Like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, I'm confused about the heralds being there.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And that Gavilar had the warped light.
Yeah, Gavilar had a nuke on him.
Yeah, like that whole revelation was like,
yeah.
what?
Who was
Man,
he
I
trying
had-
to kill?
I
had
love all
a
the
theory about
amounts.
warped light, and I was so wrong. I was so annoyed. My theory about the warped light was that it was a combination of all 3 lights. I thought that was genius, and it was not right.
So that comment that you have on the screen reminds me of that Vine where there's a little girl and the geese. She's like, look at all those chickens.
Look at all those chickens.
Oh, no.
That's awesome. Look at all those
I'm
chickens.
just waiting for like the final. I feel like the Gavilar stuff we've been getting, you know, bits and pieces. I'm waiting for the moment that we get something that all of us are like, how did we not see this?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that moment. I don't know. I feel like I mentioned in our predictions video how there's that theory that Gavilar is actually still alive.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like there's going to be some kind of bizarre, crazy thing that's going to show up, and then all of us are going to feel like idiots.
Even if you haven't read other Cosmere things, the conversation with Zale starts to bring a lot of those questions into it with Gavilar as well, because he's like, yeah, I died, and if you're heavily invested, you die. It's like, what? What are you, like, there's a lot of overwhelming things there, but the more you see
But
other
Gavilar
Cosmere
wasn't a radiant, so like he wasn't invested, right?
he had, I mean, I don't know, because he already had that weird void light, but also because of the other things that are going on with the Ghost Bloods, who is to say that he may not have had some other type of investment? I have no idea.
I don't know what other types of investment are. So confusing. But okay, so Gavilar also knew Kalek, right? Because they founded the Sons of Honor together. Is that right? No, am I?
I mean, I think he was part of that. I think him and Amaram were working together, but I think
because okay, where I'm trying to remember that from is Mraize told Shallan that the person he wanted her to go find was the founder of the Sons of Honor. I thought. Nobody remembers this? Hold on.
I know what you're talking
I
about.
remember
But
it mentioned, but
And then later we find out that guy is Kalek. So, like, that means Gavilar knew him, right? I don't know. Too many details.
I do think that he obviously had conversations with those people, but I don't know. There's
Here,
so
Gavilar was
much.
meeting with Kalek during the prologue in one of the books.
Yeah.
And then Kalek equals Sons of Honor.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not crazy. Thank you.
But
And then-
Collect definitely is.
It says Nail
Yeah.
and Kalek were the ones meeting with Gavilar. Thank you, everybody, for helping us out with
Wasn't
that.
there 3? Who was the other herald that was there?
Somebody told me the other day and I couldn't remember.
I can't remember either.
Angela from Literature Science Live. I want to see you do a science video for this book, Rhythm of War.
Yeah, especially with all like the sound waves and stuff.
the making of the lights and the favorals, it would totally be a great science behind the magic.
I would watch that.
Heck yeah.
If this was a movie, I want to get to the musical scene where Navani and Raboniel sing a song together
I
and then
love
take power.
that. I thought that was so cool.
I love that. Okay, also, we haven't talked about Leshwi at all, but I loved the twist at the end when Leshwi changed sides.
Oh my
and
god, me
started
too.
defying Odium. Oh my gosh. So I think that that's obviously going to play a factor in the future. They're going to need their help, I think, in the future.
Yeah.
Meaning
What
that
if
would
it'll be
their help.
Renarin that kind of helps bridge that gap between the two?
Yeah. I loved that. And I knew something would had to happen with Leshwi at the beginning when Kaladin and her were fighting. And Leshwi had such a sense of like honor and respect towards Kaladin. And I was like, that would be so cool if like
I have a little question. You get your opinions on this. It talks about how at the beginning Dalinar almost kind of scolds Kaladin for the fact that he's not more brutal with them. And he's like, well, they have their own honor code. And if we kind of abide by that, then it lessens the amount of people who are dying. And then Dalinar's like, this is war or something. I don't remember how he says it better than that. But I felt like that was slightly out of character for Dalinar because I feel like a lot of Dalinar is like understanding the honor of things. So I thought it was kind of weird for him to be like, no, just go kill him. Which he said it again. I'm paraphrasing for you.
I think that it was slightly out of character, but I also think that he was having a hard time trusting Kaladin's interpretations because he was seeing Kaladin as not
Well,
okay.
yeah, and he was told that information from the perspective of the Ardent. I think her name was Rushu.
Yeah, I think it was
She's
like
like,
he was
"Why?"
like getting third party information.
Yeah,
and to be
so
fair,
it's all
Kaladin
about-
wasn't okay.
No, he wasn't, but I understand exactly where he came from because he's
sure.
like,
Sure, it was awesome
know,
what he was doing.
he was protecting Bridge 4.
and I loved that it ended up paying off for him in the end because Leshwi went to their side. I think that's
That was awesome.
Dude, the moment that Venli revealed herself and Leslie was like, oh my gosh, and starts asking about her old friend, I was
That's
like,
what I was looking for. I couldn't find that part.
That was awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Were you
forgot
mad
to
at-
say, you guys mentioned Bridge 4 for a second, and that made me think about early in the conversation scenes that almost made us cry. The fact that they named it the Fourth Bridge, their like airship. I was like, that made me kind of emotional, you know? Like Navani paying her. I like how much Navani pays her respects to, because it makes you think about that scene because she knows Adolin and Dalinar would have died otherwise if those bridgemen hadn't gone back. So I like seeing that part of Navani through her work, that she's paying respects to them. I don't know. That got me. I
And
found
it
that
was
really
just
great.
very smart on her behalf because those windrunners are going to protect that ship. That section means so much to them. They're gonna protect it.
Yeah.
Sanderson did a real crazy move here by making this technically like a huge book about Navani. Like, I've seen other people express that maybe we should have seen Navani flashbacks instead of the... I sort of agree with that because I feel like most of the flashbacks for Venli, we didn't get new information. Some of them we did. I absolutely loved all the Navani in this book. I thought it was awesome, and now I'm more willing to see like more of her in the future. I was not expecting it, and I love it.
Don't you
And
think
that
if we had
flashback started so late. It was. I was like, wait a minute.
Don't you think if we had a Navani flashback though, it would have made it super obvious that she was gonna bond the sibling? Like I would have known the whole time that that's where it was going.
I mean,
So-
yeah.
I would have known that.
Well, kind of, because at one
How?
point in the book, I was also super convinced that Relaine was going to bond the sibling.
Same.
Yeah.
I feel like the imposter syndrome thing is just, it's shown so well in the present day. I don't know that I needed a backstory of like, I don't know, because we already know Dalinar's backstory, and like Navani, so much of it was just being helpless to, like, her conquering of things happens in present day, and like I don't feel like it ties that much into her past.
The only reason that I think that the Navani flashback would be more interesting now, and obviously this is just some of his like selfish world building desires, is because in the parts where she's in the prologue, which is like the first thing in the book with Gavilar, she basically talks about how she had to like fight for anything she got. She had to work her way up. It's like, well, we don't know what that means. That sounds awesome, because it sounds like you were just a rich person who got to pick which brother they married. And it's like, oh, maybe you're more than that.
I think that without Venley's flashbacks and Eshonai's flashbacks in this book, Venley's character arc would have made a lot less sense and wouldn't have been nearly as impactful, because we get to see the whole journey, you know, because obviously she changes by the end, and we see how much she struggles with like being selfish and how she feels bad about, you know, how she hurt her people and stuff. And I think that those flashbacks really flesh out her character, and so her character arc would have suffered without that, I think, in this book.
And like I was saying before, the Jack Slim moment where her mother sees her, remembers her, and the Eshonai last chunk, I think, because we get some Eshonai too, and I feel like we've only seen them here and there in the other books, so it made those emotional moments have, I think, a stronger payoff.
Yeah.
Where Navani, like, her payoff was awesome just in present day. Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. But I think a lot of people do feel some way or another. Either they feel it was too much or not enough of the Parshendi, and like a lot of people aren't very happy with the balance. So like I kind of get that. Oh, go ahead.
I was just pointing the screen too. Rock leaving made me sad too. And are they implying that he's dead? Because Kaladin said, I guess I'll never see him again.
Yeah, I don't think he's dead.
I think they're like, he's dead.
He's like imprisoned, right? Tell me he's in prison.
I feel like Rock may have used the Horn Eater area to do some, I don't know, world hopping.
I've started making jokes that Rock is going to be a world hopper in other books now.
Oh my god.
I'd be cool. I just don't want him to be dead. Like that line at Tef's funeral where they were like, oh, and Rock didn't come back, in the whoever Drahi and whoever it was, you know, brought the news back, and Kaladin thought he'd never going to see him again. And I was like, what? He's dead?
I thought I didn't think he was dead, but I definitely thought that was somewhat ominous wording.
Yeah.
But he is getting a novella. There's going to be a Horn Eater novella. So,
Yay.
yeah. Also, just to kind of tie back to that conversation, but so I think that
flashbacks were doomed.
So I think, I mean,
yeah. There was a lot of talk about like Sanderson himself admitting he accidentally put too much of the awesome listener stuff in earlier books.
Where because I feel like, I mean, also this book was already so long, so like, I don't know if we need. I guess I kind of feel like we're getting to a point where we don't need so much in the flashbacks because so much is happening in present day. It would, I think, kind of affect negatively the pacing of present day. I think you could kind of take the time to flesh out stuff in the first few books, but now I feel like we got to move. He
definitely nailed the pacing and had the least amount of flashbacks in this book, and the only parts that I felt were slow were the flashbacks. So that definitely holds water.
Oh, I love it.
And the other thing, I think, like Navani's storyline and like conclusion at the end hit so hard and was so perfect. Hi, John. and I loved it so much, and that was without me getting any flashbacks. So kind of like what Elle was saying, I think he just did such a good job with her character in present day and hit, like, I had all the emotional impact with her character just from what I got in this novel. I think it won a lot of people over for her character.
Yeah, I guess that's how I feel too. I mean, I don't know too many people that came out of it like, I still don't feel anything for Navani. Like he was able to do, and I'm not trying to, I feel bad. I'm not trying to assert like, no, Michael, it wouldn't have been better. I just like, I personally,
Michael.
I kind of feel like, I agree that for me, I wasn't that captivated by the flashbacks in this book, but I don't know. I think I would have been slightly bored if it was Navani flashbacks too. I mean, I think, and this is one of the few books where I was like, I don't care. Let's go back to present day, you know?
Yes.
Where in the other books, like getting Kaladin's flashbacks, the first book is just kind of like a slower moving book anyway. You're discovering things. And Shallan's, I kept being like, what the heck happened? And then Dalinar's, you like know bad stuff happened, and then seeing exactly why and like how he lost his memories. But in this one, I just think no matter who it was, unless it was Zeth, I would have been like, I don't care. Let's get back to present.
Hey, Talonat is still getting flashbacks, and that sounds awesome.
I loved seeing how the singers actually changed their forms. Like, there were certain things that we hadn't known really about how their culture worked at all, and I loved seeing that. And also, like, spending so much time with the singers, it starts to become like you understand what they're saying when they're singing, because you start seeing when they will like hum to something. It's like, what does it actually mean for us? Like, the translation becomes really obvious because we start becoming familiar with it. So I really, while at the same time, I would also love Navani flashbacks.
You would have been good with both.
Yeah.
The idea is that each flashback book is going to be a different magic. So to have 2 Bondsmith ones in a row, because I think that's part of it. I think all of them, because there's going to be 10 books, right? And there's 10 orders. So I think all of them are going to be different, which means we haven't gotten an Edge Dancer, right? We haven't actually officially got an Edge Dancer book.
Alex Nieves is going to be so hacked off if we get Lift flashbacks.
Lift flashbacks are scheduled, yeah.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, how much does she have to say?
What if Aelin and Shallan have a child and their child becomes... I mean, that wouldn't work for a flashback, though. It would just be a person in present day in the second arc. But I don't know. I don't know who the Edge Dancer would be.
I thought that Lift was scheduled to have flashbacks in one of the books.
Maybe she will. I don't think that I've seen people that think like, somehow Aelin is going to become a Radiant. I see what happened with Maya as a reversal of like, because he kind of granted her strength. So I feel like there's going to be something with the Dead Eyes where we don't quite make them come back to life necessarily in a traditional way, but like somehow they are able to, the same way that like currently by bonding to a human, the Spren kind of give them powers. I feel like having a human bond to a Spren is going to have like the Dead Eyes Spren get some powers.
So here's a weird prediction, maybe. We don't know what the heck an Honor Blade is yet, but we did find out in this book that there are Spren that can choose to like become Fabrials basically by becoming physical objects in the real world, which is kind of what it sounds like an Honor Blade might be, in which case maybe we see Maya go through that transformation, and instead of Adela being a Radiant, he might still get to use powers if Maya were to become a Honor Blade or something like that.
Aren't the Spren that become living blades, aren't they like imitating the Honor Blade though?
I don't remember.
I feel like somewhere that was said where they're like imitating the Honor Blades, which would make me think there's something different, but
maybe.
I don't remember
I
where
thought
that
Honor
was.
Blades were like literal pieces of that like splintered.
I don't know.
Somebody tell us. Somebody.
I mean, we know that's what
knows
the Shin are guarding.
I feel like I need like a
Rich
hard.
will know. Rich.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for also being like me, being like, I'm not sure. They are imitating Honor Blades.
The Spren are.
I thought Honor created the Honor Blade. Okay, do any of us actually? I feel like I'm saying different.
I don't think we know for sure, but
okay. I guess I could look it up. What's an Honor Blade? Although that's not.
That might be spoilery.
Yeah. That might have stuff from other things. Yeah,
Kaladin is my best friend.
we have Honor Blades, we have the regular Shard Blades, and then we have what's the other one? We have another one.
Another one?
Isn't there another one?
Well, there's Nightblood.
Yeah, there's Nightblood.
Oh, are you talking about like the weird technology that like the Fuse were using where they can like transfer investiture?
There's two. I feel like this is getting not as exciting. For people watching us sitting here with like question marks around our basically. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about, I think we'll kind of go back to this predictions, and then we're at an hour and a half right now, so I feel like we kind of need to wrap it up. What do you think is going to happen in the last book? Any big things, small blades? I started to read blades. Any small things that are going to happen?
Adolin will die.
Well, who's going to die? We have to guess who's...
I'm
Jesse.
over you.
A bunch of people are going to die. We have to pick some.
Yeah, people are gonna die.
I think that Dalinar is going to become Odium's champion. Because
I would have said Dalinar is dead until
Dalinar
this book.
becomes honor.
Well,
Before
I think
Moash gets taken out, I hope he goes by Jesse's house.
Moash-
The Shakes are with him. Hating on Adolin.
Moash is
Yeah,
gonna die.
Jesse,
When he saves everybody, Jesse, I want you to remember this moment.
Hey, I will come back and personally apologize to you if Adolin ends up.
Go ahead and be working on that apology. I'm just saying.
I think it's funny because Jesse's getting the heat, and I passionately do.
Yeah.
I don't even hate Adolin.
I was just so glad this was going to be live because I was like, Elle is going to cut everything I say about Adolin.
No, I definitely Adolin. So the Adolin stuff for me is more of just I was pointing out before, the difference between Kaladin just challenging Amaram versus Adolin. It's more of the way society has put down other people in their world and made the consequences of other people's actions not as strong. And Adolin just kind of is an example of that. And I just who am I to talk? I mean, I feel like a lot of people in America are living life and just enjoying their lives when there's tons of other bad things happening in the world. So I don't mind that Adolin wants to live his life and just be there for the people he loves. More so in the first few books where he's wanting to duel and stuff. It was just there's a part in this book where he's frustrated with the honor spren because he's can't they see people need help? And I really wanted him, I said it in one of my chats, I wanted him to have a moment where he was having this full circle. I guess I could have done more in my world to help the slaves and the oppressed and break down the system and work harder alongside my father. But I kind of didn't. And so I wanted him to have that moment where if he's expecting the honor spren to see their issues and care, for him to have also. But I mean,
It's coming in the next book. He has just been slowly getting
His cousin
shaped.
had to fix that
I'm
issue.
telling you, there's such big things in store for him.
I don't want to bring down the wrath of Leslie on me, but I feel like he has had things really easy. Even when he needs to accomplish something, he just wins the trial because Maya speaks up for him. It was just oh, okay.
First of all,
him.
So
screw you guys.
Thank you, Michael.
I
don't hate Adolin. I'm just saying.
I told Sophia, who's in the chat, and Michael, I was I totally was just trolling them. I was I like how Adolin literally accomplished nothing in my but I'm totally joking though, because if it weren't for Adolin showing his respect and care to Maya, then that couldn't have happened, right? So
that's true. He's a sweetheart.
I actually really like
It's not dead. Y'all are missing that whole point. It's not dead. It lives in the heart of men.
So if we're talking about predictions for book 5,
bringing us back,
somebody is going to die, and we are all, I think, because of the freaking awesome scenario that Odium set up, we all think that Dalinar is going to become his pet. So they're going to lose. Who all is going to die? I think that's the main question. Wit? Whoa, that's a crazy prediction. That was insane.
Adolin. Maybe Adolin will be the big sacrifice.
Adolin could die. I think Kaladin could die. I feel like his arc has now gone full force. What else is he going to do? He's not going to be the old man in the next book, is he?
Live happily. He deserves to live.
He's going to retire? He's going to be a therapist now?
We talked about this in the predictions. So, and the whole idea that there is a parallel between Navani and Gavilar, Dalinar with Shallan, Adolin, Kaladin. And I don't necessarily none of us, I don't think, really love the idea of Shallan and Kaladin. But if Adolin were to die, the way that like Gavilar died, not exact same way, but I mean like if that parallel that supposedly like the words of Brandon have talked about or something, would that mean like there would be something with Shallan and Adolin in the second arc?
No. I think she absorbed Vel, and that's gonna just crush those little feelings that she was having.
So, this is a slight tangent, but it's also, do you love that for the third time now, we've had the implication that Kaladin is in a relationship and we got to see none of it?
Nothing!
Yes! This is frustrating.
That's the prediction. Kaladin will finally be happy and he'll like maybe just like have a nice life as
Sure. Kaladin either falls in love or he dies. One or the other. Or
Any
maybe
honeymoons
Brandon
in the
will
Hornator
pull the
Peaks?
ultimate troll and kill him after he falls in love.
Moash will like
Don't say that.
Moash kills Kaladin's wife.
jeez. Because Kaladin hasn't faced
You're a
enough.
horrible person.
Kaladin will get married and then have children, and Moash will kill all of them.
No.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Henry is challenging you.
Hey!
Yeah.
No.
I don't know who else would die
No,
because
no.
I always would say Dalinar was going to die. Who else could die? I mean, somebody has to die. That's my rule. Somebody has to die.
Okay, the Leshlie thing. I remember Andy in the chat, like private chat, was just like, "Are these two gonna bang or what?"
I mean, I'm kind of cool with it.
I mean, Whitney
She has
has
to
to
go
happen,
into-
so
She has to go
anything
into
can
mate
happen.
form first.
She
though.
does have to go to mate form, but I mean, that's what is that? A storm away?
Okay, I think we might be bordering on like pointless conversation.
No, hold on. I want to know if you guys had any predictions that you got right. I have one thing that I guessed and I got right, and I was like so happy because I never get anything right. I had so many predictions that were wrong.
Did anyone?
What was it?
The one that I got right was I guessed that Deadeye cryptic, that Shallan had killed it in the past.
Wow.
That's a freaking awesome
Not like
prediction.
for
That's
early
good.
or anything, but like during the trial, whenever whoever that was brought that Deadeye down, and then I was like, wait, that's the Deadeye that Pattern was trying to like get them to meet up, and Shallan was like, no, I don't want to talk to you. And it's the same Deadeye from the beginning of the book where Adolin like saw, and they were like, oh, she just died within the last 10 years, and I was like, oh my god, Shallan killed this Deadeye. So I guess that I was so happy I was right.
It's
Good.
it's what's frustrating too about that is like I feel like it's a good reveal, but then when you go back to that conversation you're talking about, Jade, where Pattern's like, I don't really remember things from before, and like
Yeah.
it's so obvious. Then you're like, oh, okay, well, like
I
what
know,
else?
whenever he was like being made out to be like a spy, I was like, Pattern is an angel, and there is a reason behind all of this. So when he says that he's been like just talking to Wit, I was like, see, obviously, like it's fine. I did not believe for a second that Pattern had bad intentions.
Pattern's so sweet. I know. I was like, I don't.
I
think
love
it's
Pattern. Pattern has so much nerdy humor, and I
Yes.
when
love
he
it.
like, I loved when Adolin like put his arm around Shallan and all of a sudden like felt Pattern like also.
Yeah, Patty's like,
Pattern.
bring it in, guys. Bring it in.
Oh my god, when Formless was being mean to Pattern, I
Made me so sad.
almost lost it. I was so mad. I was so mad at Sean.
But I had a ton of predictions. None of them came true except that one.
I don't think we discussed it, but I definitely think that the Maya somehow being restored was it was I didn't know how it was gonna happen, but I was like, yeah, I think and then it did, and so
I guess that too, but I feel like she's still not totally restored in the way that I thought. She was. Like I thought she was going to be
Yeah.
like normal.
Same.
I will say before I started this book, I did predict that Taravangian would become Odium, but
What?
I'm kidding.
Oh. What the crap?
No one guessed that.
no one guessed that, and no one guessed Yasna and Wit. I literally never
Right.
saw
Oh yeah.
No.
No.
We've been talking about that before, but I don't know. But Michael, you guessed that Navani would bond the sibling, and like the
Yeah.
whole book, like half the book, I was like, oh yeah, that's what's gonna happen. And then the sibling was like, oh no, I want to bond with Verlaine. I was like, well, there's that theory. And then it happened.
And I was kind of down with that. Yeah, no, I came up with the idea, like I was filming a different predictions video with Catherine from Catherine Reads, and mid-conversation, I was like, holy crap, Navani's going to bond with Urithiru Tower. And I was like, in the middle of this conversation, I'm like, maybe that's crazy. And the more I thought about it, the more I was okay with it. And then, yeah, like you said, halfway through this book, I'm like, oh, that's probably not going to happen. And then, this book is like, who's going to bond with the sibling? Is it going to be Dabbit? Is it going to be Verlaine? Or is it going to be Navani? It's going to be one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
That actually happened when we were on the predictions live stream here on Worldhoppers. Somebody said it in the chat, and I was sort of thinking that. And they said it in the chat, and so it came up here. That was the only prediction that I really had that came true.
I gotta say, it was fun since Jessie revealed, like, when she was like, wait, have you finished it yet? I was like, shh. But it was fun to be like, what do you guys think of Verlaine becoming the next one? So... should have bonded with Dabbit.
Yes, Angela. Yes.
He thinks he's gonna be healed when that happens. I want him to be healed.
I hope he does bond, and I hope he does.
I mean, if he doesn't get healed, he's perfectly fine the way he is. But still,
I don't think anyone else has ever been healed of something mental. Only like other physical things.
It was just the Jackson.
Only Jackson.
That's true. True.
But
that would happen.
Okay, also this, but because search bars use. So I kind of am also like the implications of it, Maya saying they chose. Why do you guys think that happened?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I was so shocked by that revelation that I just can't begin to imagine why. But I can't wait to find out.
I think that we know that they think that using the surges will destroy their planet just like it did before. We just don't know why it destroys their planet. So I think this prediction is pretty interesting. I was surprised when they found out that the Spren like volunteered or like they chose that. But what I really liked was when that other Inkspren was like saying that you know it makes it more scary because they chose this and we don't know why. So like I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, that had to be a big deal for them to basically commit mass suicide like that.
Yeah. Well, but she said that they didn't know they would die. She said that they knew it would be painful, but they didn't know that they would die.
The only weird question is like, how does all the other Spren have lived for a very long time? How did nobody know what they did or why?
Same thing. Like, how did all? Is there some kind of mass brainwashing that happened? Like why would all of them? And talking about Syl starting to remember. Is she going to remember and then?
Maybe. The only problem was that Syl was kind of in the state of like shock because her previous Bond person had died. So like it kind of explains why she doesn't know, but everybody else was around. So why would they not know? Or like did no one ever tell anybody?
Syl was asleep during that.
Syl was. Yeah, Syl was. Hers is the only one I think is explained why she doesn't know or remember.
Maybe it's because the rest of them were in Shadesmar and not enough in Roshar to know what happened really.
Yeah.
No telling.
But maybe they could have been like, hey, this is going to suck. Let me let you know what's going to happen here. We're going to break the oaths. It's going to go potentially very badly. But here's why we're doing it just in case.
So, and then you said Sanderson said the end of this arc is actually somewhere in The Way of Kings.
Really?
Well, now I got to go reread it for a third time.
Analyze every single thing.
What?
And then Miss something changed in the Spren after one of them. So there's a part where the sibling is talking to Navani and they say something about they reveal something and Navani's like, why have I never heard this? And the sibling's like, I don't know.
Let me see. About Bo Belarisham. I don't remember what the Unmaid's name is. They talked about that Unmaid a lot, and I don't really know like what they are or why they talked about him so much. I think that's the Unmaid that got captured that had something to do with forcing
Yeah.
the fuse to stay in Braze or something. But they talked about that one a lot.
It seems like the Fused are in a race to try and find whatever the Unmade was captured in to re-release her or he.
I'm trying to find. I know I tabbed it, and now I don't know where it is. Oh
And
well.
like how are Dawn Shards going to come into play? Because now that we have the Dawn Shard novella, and that had huge implications that didn't necessarily play out in this book.
At all.
That's
Which I was a
true.
little
At
sad
all,
by.
yeah.
Wait, it's more. I feel like the tie-in with the Sleepless was more significant because there's a part
Sure.
where
Yeah,
where
that
Wit's
was
like,
amazing.
"I'm really sorry, Asna, but like, they were here the whole time."
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I was really glad to find out that Rizen's Babsk was still alive because, like,
Yeah.
the way that interlude ended in the last book, like, he had been stabbed and we didn't know. And then, like, he wasn't really in Dawn Shard, and, like, she didn't say, like, for sure he's still alive. And I was like, is he alive? And then we have that scene in here where they talk. So I was like, oh, good. And
we're talking-
Kiri talk was super cool.
Cheery being like, "I want more pets."
Hungry.
If we're talking about Dawn Shard, I will say something that makes me unreasonably happy was finding out that Yalba's still alive. I don't know why I'm so happy about that.
Oh,
The
no.
like guy with the ship.
Yeah.
I love him.
Oh yeah.
I like this. Can she summon Adolin as a shard?
Yes. Yes, perfect. Let's just make Adolin a sword. Perfect.
He would probably love that.
Probably he could see the battle from like that side, a different perspective.
He clearly loves swords so much. I mean, that scene where it's talking about his misunderstanding of like his first girlfriend.
That was so good.
That spoke to his character that y'all just seem to be wanting to sweep under the rug.
I'm with you, Leslie. I'm with you.
He has
fun of
good
her
character.
Naren.
He's a sweetheart. Again.
I think
I like. I agree with this person about. I'd also agree that the magic system in this is so much more confusing.
Well, Mistborn, he only explains it to you every page. And so,
I have a feeling it's because it kind of takes elements from the other magic systems in the Cosmere. And that's why we're starting to see like I haven't even read the graphic novel White Sand.
But the sand.
But the sand, as I'm assuming from
Oh, I didn't realize.
that graphic novel. And just how all the different pieces of the magic system affect things in here just makes me think that's why this one's a little more confusing. Yeah.
I'll say I agree with this too. Second era Mistborn's magic is a little less,
exciting.
and then Alman's biochemistry.
I think that Warbreaker's magic system is the most confusing by far.
You
frankly.
think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
love
Parts of it are simple. Parts of it are not at all simple.
I think the thing with that one is more so like Surge Binding. There's just so much. There's so many different orders of radiance and like their powers and like why is it that Shalon still can't what's it called when you like turn stuff to food? Soul cast.
Yeah.
Why does she still have so much trouble soul casting and like versus is there something to that? I just feel like there's always questions. Whereas and there's so many more beings on Roshar and the other ones just like here's how this works. Also, I really want to talk Warbreaker spoilers. Not really spoilers, but like okay, this isn't a spoiler, just like there are people who like are returned, they call them. Mm-hmm. And do you feel like that magic is what some of the other characters are looking for so they can like return to? Does that make sense? I feel like
I think that's
Yeah.
It does make sense.
I need a pamphlet. Okay, you should
feel like that's what wit is.
Oh,
he mentioned.
Sorry, this is off topic, but speaking of wit, did he insinuate that he had a chance to take a shard and he turned it down?
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
I want to say to Sarah, you should get Mistborn. You should get Call to Adventure, the Stormlight Archive. if you get the fancy edition, it has like a whole little pamphlet with all the different orders and stuff. It's super cool. And then let's see, we haven't. Here it is. This stuff collects prologue, but we haven't seen it in the story yet. So, and this, okay, so yeah, the Returned and the Fused, that's true. But I just like wonder, because the Returned are more like humans, you know? Man, there's just so much. I don't know.
I mean, I think that there's a lot of people that think like the idea of the listeners are basically just a different evolution of humans on that planet.
You think that's what it is?
I mean, I think that's what I've seen people make that argument. Basically, everything on that planet has shells and deals with storms and whatnot, and so the listeners would be humans on that planet. We came from another planet.
Yeah, I think they're like the versions of humans, but I don't think they started off and then like Darwined their way to.
I don't know. I see them as being different, but I've also seen lots of people argue otherwise.
I like.
Yes.
So before we go, because it's almost at 2 hours now, are there any other things that we want to bring up? I'm sure all of us, when this ends, are going to be like, how did I forget to not mention this? Elo dying immediately, Rashon dying immediately. That was all really shocking.
Yeah.
But like we're all over that, right? Because that was like that happened in part 1.
Part 1 was fantastic, but that
Right.
happened so long ago in my mind.
It does, and it comes up in this one too, in Shadesmar, right? Like when it's paid attention to.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
Angela actually talks about that in her Behind the Magic thing. She talks about it as a quantum mechanics thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I need people smarter than me to tell me.
Angela, tell us.
Okay, well, I don't have anything else to add. So I think we
Covered everything.
covered a lot. Do you guys have anything else?
No, but this was
I
really
feel like I
long.
should, but I just
Oh my god!
I should, but I don't. Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
my tab-
There's so much.
you cut up sticky notes, right? I have like small tabs.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's Ryan being both influenced by thought and being years of physical forces. And then
Rich's smiley faces.
Oh man.
Flame Spren are the best example. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
Oh.
I mean, Pete and Henry are both saying the things about El that make him mysterious, and also the fact that he has a metal carapace that could tie into clearly other magic systems in the Cosmere. He also seems pretty hardcore when he just like dismantles the pursuer at the end.
I love
I mean,
that.
what
part.
do we know about Elle?
Like nothing, basically.
Nothing.
I just wanted to make sure I didn't like miss a bunch of stuff because I was like, I barely know who this person is. I mean, I know he had those little snippets at the beginning of a bunch of chapters. I texted Elle and I was like, look, you made it into the book. Not realizing that he was an evil person because it was when it was a snippet.
I saw him being basically like, hey, you think it was another instance of, hey, you think you know who's powerful and what's important in this world, and then he walks up and like kills the pursuer as if it were nothing, and you're like, oh, this is the real bad guy.
I'm just, how many times is that going to happen? Of like,
Well, there's 10 books, so maybe
Yeah.
6 more times.
somebody was mentioning hemalurgy, which we can't talk too much about, but
Uh-huh. That's an interesting idea.
how did he kill the defeated one again?
He used the anti-void light
Yeah,
dagger.
Mm-hmm.
shanks him.
Or, yeah. I was going to
Do
say
you
it was anti-storm light, but no, it was
Do you
void
think
light.
there's a way to combine that with hemalurgy?
Mm-hmm.
Frick, I don't know.
Because that would be really intense. Okay, well,
I
Heck of a
have
piercing.
specific metals in certain directions and stuff, so
I feel like
He named the medal, and I was like, is that like a different name for medals that we already know? Like, it's
Which
got to
one?
be, right?
Which one?
So in the dagger that Raboniel had, she named what that middle part of it was. And it wasn't like a medal name that I recognized. And I was thinking, like, it has to be the name of a medal that we know, just like a different name for it on Roshar or something, right?
Unless it's like a Mistborn Era 2 thing that I don't know about.
I haven't read Era 2 either.
I think I know what you're talking about.
She named what the medal was, and I was like, I don't know what medal that is.
Adium or Adium, something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was. Yeah, and someone kept talking about Raucalus.
That's okay. It does not start with A. I don't know what I was thinking.
I don't know.
Is this what you're talking about? I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't remember what the actual name of the medal was. I just remember seeing. I thought it started with an A though, but I remember seeing it and being like, I don't. That's like not a medal that I know.
Oh, Raucalus is what they call it.
Must be.
I remember reading that in the book now. Okay.
So,
okay. So they kept saying that so the sibling kept saying she couldn't sense lift and that she was surrounded by Raucalus. And I was like, what the heck is Raucalus? So that makes a lot of sense. And that also confirms to me that whatever medal name that they said. So in Roshar, they have different names for medals that we already know, but we don't know what the new names are.
I'm going to add to this, Razium is a god. So there's different medals that are named based off the gods. They're like god medals. So you have Atium is of Ati, Larazium is of Laris, Razium is of Raze. So there's that too. And I don't know what they all, I mean, I'm sure we'll find out too.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I feel like we're bordering on Teravangian. I feel like we're starting to get into like spoiler territory for other books. Yeah. So I feel like I think that needs to be another video. Is like full on chatting about possible crossover between. Although I feel like we might need other people to get a chance to chat about it.
We need to figure out who else has read more Cosmere, because I haven't read enough Cosmere.
Sophia's read a lot, so I know Sophia could chime in with that. I feel like we need to get. I don't know how.
Angela's read all of them, and she's. Yeah, that'd be a
even all of our Arcanum Unbounded.
Yeah, Angela's read everything.
Okay. So Angela, maybe you could.
I might have to. Wow.
Cosmere spoilers, please. Yeah, we'll have to do a different one. And there's been a couple of people whose channels I've watched recently that I'm like, they probably know. So, Okay, cool. Well, this was fun. We're right almost at 2 hours. So, and also, Jesse and I, we have a reading sprint tonight.
Oh, I need to text you.
Or we don't have a reading sprint. Thanks. This has been fun.
This has been fun. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you so much for organizing this, guys.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
See you guys for more Cosmere stuff later.
Bye.